Welcome aboard Alex's Animal Ark. My name is Alex and I will be your guide to all the amazing animals that live on our planet. Today we will be learning about the Bactrian Camel. So what is a Bactrian Camel exactly? To start with, they are a large, even-toed ungulate and the largest living camel species. They can reach an overall height of 7.5 to 8.2 feet, with a shoulder height of 5.2 to 5.9 feet. They can reach a head and shoulder length of 7.38 to 11.48 feet, with a tail length of 14 to 22 inches. They can weigh between 1,300 and 2,200 pounds, with the males being larger and heavier than the females. They can live up to 50 years in the wild, but the average is about 30. They have a long woolly coat that they grow out for the winter, and it comes in a wide range of colors, from dark brown to beige, and they usually shed their winter coat during the summer so they don't get too warm. Wild Bactrian camels are a lot smaller and slender than the domesticated ones. Bactrian camels have a typical camel-looking face that is triangular in shape with a slit upper lip. Their eyelashes are very long to protect their eyes from dust and sand, as well as a nictitating membrane to wash any dust and sand out of their eyes if any gets in. They also have sealable nostrils to keep sand out of their nose when traveling through the desert. Their most distinguishing feature is the two humps on their back, unlike the dromedary camel, which only has one hump. These humps are comprised of fat, which the camel stores and can live off of if there is nothing to eat. If the camel uses these fat stores, the humps begin to fall over. Their feet consist of two broad toes with very tough and flat soles, so they can travel through the desert and the other habitats they live in. Speaking of habitats, Bactrian camels are migratory and inhabit many different biomes. These include the mountains, deserts, and steppes of Central Asia. They can also be found near sources of water. Their range includes most of Central Asia, from Afghanistan to China as well as Mongolia. Wild Bactrian camels have a more limited range and are only found in the Gobi Desert. So what are some Bactrian camel behaviors? Bactrian camels are diurnal and forage during the day. They are well suited for desert living, with tough mouths and the ability to go without water for months. Bactrian camels are primarily herbivorous and will eat almost every type of plant. If plants aren't available, they will feed on carcasses and chew on the bones, skin, and other flesh to get nutrients. If nothing else is available, they will eat any material they can find, including rope and tents. Speaking of water, they can go without it for months, as stated before, but they still need to drink. When they do drink water, they can drink up to 35 gallons at once. They are also able to save water by not sweating as much and having very concentrated urine. Bactrian camels typically travel in groups of 6 to 20 individuals, consisting of several females, their calves, and subadults led by a dominant male. They get along well with each other for the most part, and when two groups cross paths, they may join together to create a supergroup, which could reach the size of 500 camels. Once young males reach breeding age, the dominant male will chase them away and force them to join a bachelor group. When a male challenger approaches, the dominant male and the intruder will perform displays to scare off each other. If the dominant male can't scare off the intruder, he will resort to fighting, which includes biting and other attacks. The breeding season for Bactrian camels occurs year-round. The gestation usually lasts for 13 months, after which point the female gives birth to 1 or 2 calves every year. The calves are able to stand and run minutes after birth. They then nurse for about 1.5 years and stay with their moms until they reach breeding age. At this point, the males get chased off, and the females may join another group or will stick around to help raise the next calf. Now it's time for some Bactrian camel fun facts. They're named after a region called Bactria, which is a region of ancient Central Asia from about 2500 to 2000 BCE to 900 to 1000 CE. Aristotle was the first European to describe camels when he described them in his book History of Animals, which was published in 4 BC. They were used in caravans along the Silk Road and used by humans for thousands of years for various tasks. They are one of the few animals to regularly eat snow as a source of water. They can survive in temperatures ranging from 122 degrees to negative 20 degrees. The U.S. imported Bactrian and dromedary camels several times during the mid to late 1800s because the military and others were looking for sturdier and hardier pack animals than mules and horses. The Army even created a unit called the United States Camel Corps to see if the camels would be good pack animals in the southwestern United States. They actually worked well for that purpose, but the Civil War ended the experiment, and so the camels were auctioned off or released. This led to a group of feral camels existing for a while in the Southwest. Jefferson Davis was the one who put this experiment in motion when he was the War Secretary of the United States, before leaving to be President of the Confederacy, also known as the Confederate States of America. Once he left to do that, nobody else supported this experiment, and it would have taken too long to train the soldiers how to use the camels, so they just continued using horses and mules. One of these escaped camels was the subject of the legend of the Red Ghost. This legend started in 1883. Some ranchers went out to go check on some cattle. One of their wives heard the dogs barking and rushed to the window where she saw a large reddish-colored camel carrying a skeleton on its back. She locked the door and stayed inside until the ranchers came back and heard her tale, and also discovered that the wife of the other rancher had been trampled to death. The ranchers followed the footprints to a bush that had red hair in it. Reports of the Red Ghost continued to pop up for months and years afterwards, with stories describing it as 30 feet tall and hunting and eating a grizzly bear, as well as disappearing into thin air when pursued. A cowboy tried to lasso it once and almost got trampled, and he was able to figure out that there was a skeleton on the back of the camel. A group of 5 people tried to shoot it, but they missed and knocked the head of the skeleton off, which still had hair and skin on it. Eventually, in 1893, a farmer named Mazoo Hastings discovered it grazing in his yard and killed it with a single shot where it was confirmed to be a camel. Nobody knows why there was a dead body on the back of it. Some people think it was a miner who was dying of thirst and attached itself to the camel, hoping it would lead him to water, or they think it was a soldier who was part of the Camel Corps who was attached to it when it got scared off and was never seen again. A statue was erected in Quartzsite, Arizona, nearby to the grave of one of the camel drivers named High Jolly. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it and want to hear more, feel free to subscribe to Alex's Animal Ark on YouTube, or subscribe on Spotify, Deezer, Stitcher, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Castro, Castbox, Podfriend, and iHeartRadio. Feel free to like and follow the Alex's Animal Ark Facebook page, and visit my website at sites.google.com/view/Alex's Animal Ark. You can find the link in the description. If there is an animal you would like to hear me cover, please email your name and the animal you want to hear about to awesomeanimals21@gmail.com, and I will add it to the list. Thank you for coming on this animal adventure. I will see you all again for the next voyage.